Alex FM. Elevate your mind.
24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Alex FM 89.1. Elevate your mind. 24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Alex FM 89.1. Elevate your mind.
All right, here we are. It is what it is. Certainly, it is the ultimate place to be. It's a very good evening to you, Mzansi Africa, and to all of you around the world. Welcome to the Streets Sunday Epic Experience, the first installment with our distinguished guest tonight on the show. It is, of course, good and great. Our first guest on the first episode of the show. It's a very good evening, Alex. It's a very good evening to you, Gauteng. Welcome to it. This is 89.1 FM. As always, coming to you as cool as summer breeze. As always, coming to you as soft as baby's touch. Muntu Mbanjwa is my name, and I'm all over your radio all the way till 12 midnight. And of course, tonight on the show, our distinguished guest in the building. And of course, on our first leg of the show, kick-starting the show, Alex born, dynamic, phenomenal, quite a very interesting woman. She's joining us tonight. It is what it is. What time is it? It's 1 minute after the hour 10 o'clock, and it's a very good evening to you, South Africa, and to all of you around the world streaming with us on www.alexfm.co.za. Welcome aboard. It's a very good evening to you and yours. Welcome to it. Tonight on the show, we are rolling along with my distinguished guest. Of course, she's Alex born. She's a founder, and of course, she's the chief executive officer of Agrigreat Soiltech and Envirocare. It's an organic compost and fertilizer production, seeds, seedlings company, and agricultural expert. Oh, my sweet Jesus. Her profile is so long. I wonder just how it's going to fit on your business card. Buyiswa Twala joining us tonight, the Chief Executive Officer. And of course, Alex Bond. She's an agricultural consultant. All right, she's joining us tonight. So we unpack. She's doing quite a great work, of course. So she's joining us tonight to tell us more. And of course, she's quite an achiever. She's doing quite pretty well. And she's going to take us through the journey. She is the CEO. Okay, Miss Buyiswa Twala joining us right in the studio. Good evening to you, Matwala. Welcome to the Sweet Sunday Show. How are you doing tonight?
I am excited. How are you doing tonight?
I'm so dark and lovely. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to us. It is indeed a great pleasure.
The pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're more than welcome. All right, let's cut straight to the chase. To many people out there who do not know, and to some who never had a chance to know you or to interact better with you, how would you prefer to define yourself or describe yourself to the listeners out there? Who is Buyiswa Twala?
I would say Buyiswa Twala is a extrovert and a game changer. If I were to use the word, I would say Buyiswa Twala is a game changer.
Oh, great. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah. So where's home? When were you born and how was your upbringing, by the way? Let's get first to the thick and thin of things. Where's home? Where were you born? How was your life upbringing?
I was born here in Johannesburg. I spent most of my time between Alexandra and Kempton Park, mostly here in Alexandra at 15 Ruth.
Yeah.
It was a very warm family upbringing, very, I wouldn't say strict parents, but parents with order. And, there was no chance. You had no chance of escaping. They were always having their eyes on you. I had helicopter parents, helicopter grandparents.
Oh, boy.
When you're in Kempton Park, you don't leave. When you're in Alex, you don't leave. You stay inside the yard. You play inside the yard, Yes, So that's how I grew up with my siblings as well. I have 3 older brothers, and I'm the last born. And a lot of masculine energy came from that space, a lot of masculine energy, just growing up with the boys, fixing the roof, playing soccer. There was no time for dolls because who are you going to play with? Yeah, that's what it was like.
All right, so fast forward. And then as you were growing up, completing your educational studies, what drew you or what attracted you to the field that you are in now?
It's actually a very amazing story. So I was always obsessed with charity work since high school. Always giving and being in situations where they would have these drives, these donations where they'd come to our school and ask for old clothes, and we'd be the first ones there. And we'd even request to not only give the old clothes, but can we go and see the orphanage itself? So immediately after high school, I think immediately after matric the following year, I was able to go with a friend of mine, and she wanted to start this garden project in the township of Tembisa, because we're that side by the township of Tembisa. That's where she's from. And she was like, okay, let's see the gardening here. Let's see how we get to feed the children, just a small little school garden at a school called Khatlamping Primary. And then as we were there, we started a garden. There was a lot of pushback, but the issue was that the soil was dead. The soil was very terrible. It had been overused. We were unable to plant anything. And, some elder people kept telling us, you guys are wasting your time. You guys are, and this is the project out of our own hearts, out of our own pockets.
So you never gave up?
We never gave up.
So then how did you turn things around then? I mean, to work on that soil?
It was so funny because we had no money. We were doing this out of our own pockets. We were not working. It was just the after high school project that we were doing. And the only thing that we had around us, because you're in the township, is waste. So you have animal waste, you have vegetable peels lying in the street. The quarter places are throwing out potatoes in the middle of the street, all of that. And I was a big science guy in high school. So I thought to myself, okay, since we don't have money, but we have all of this waste, the pig manure, the sheep manure, the chicken manure, all of that, I was able to kind of piece that together and remember that Konja chicken manure, it has nitrogen. Spinach needs nitrogen to grow. This one has phosphate. It needs phosphate to grow. All of that. So kind of mixing those together. And I remember just fermenting it. And I did it on my own. I was trying. My friends were like, hey, see what you can do if you can do something. And I kid you not, it was a soil that hadn't produced anything in 10 years. I made that little mixture of mine. I put it into the soil. And for the first time in 10 years, that soil took out the biggest leaf of spinach that we had ever seen. And now I have to work backwards and see, okay, what did I do? Because I was just mixing. Now I must formulate. I must create a scientific formula and work backwards. And that's basically how everything started.
Yeah. Now, I hear all these fancy, nice words, scientific formula. Just take us through, what is a scientific formula?
A scientific formula would be using the chemicals, whether organic or not organic chemicals, and kind of creating something out of it. It's like, the hydrogen oxide formula to create water. You just write the formula down and you balance the equations, and then you have your formula of what are we looking at, so that if people want to recreate this formula, they can go forth and do that. So I had basically created a new formula that reverses the effect of soil degradation.
Wow, great stuff. Mamedu Mutle, we are in conversation with Buyiswa Twala. She's our guest. Now, let's talk about the paramount importance of the cost of living in South Africa. It's quite very expensive, and then there's a lot of poverty and hunger also. So how can we reduce the cost of living in a country in terms of food security?
That is an amazing question. It's like my daily speech every single day in the mirror to everyone. I tell everyone, increasing the production of food, because if you look at it from an agricultural perspective, as someone in the industry, the production of food, it's the limitations. The milli meal is higher, the cost of rice is higher because less is being produced. Now, if you can look at why less is being produced, we have a lot of townhouses lately. There's townhouses everywhere. There's estates everywhere. There's a lot of property. But where is the space for food? Most of our farmers, if you look into the space, they are the same farmers that have been running the industry for many, many, many years. And there's no space for anyone new to enter because most of the land is being used up for real estate, which is not a problem. We do need real estate, but we are also running away from the problem of food insecurity. The food insecurity level in South Africa is extremely high, and if you're in the middle class, you can't necessarily see it until you go onto the ground and see how hungry people are, until you go into the townships, until you go into these spaces and you realize that there are some families that haven't had a healthy meal in years. You know what I mean? Even your Christmas is not the same Christmas as theirs. Your 7 colors is 2 colors for them. And we don't want to look at that. And we need to look at the agricultural industry and realize, why are we not producing enough food for the masses? And why are we not producing enough organic food for the masses? Because that is also another issue. Majority of the food is not organic. It is a big problem. And food that is over GMO fed with so many growth hormones, it actually affects our children. Periods start earlier than they're supposed to. We're having so many problems, so many illnesses, thyroids. We are exposed to so many things because we are not looking at organic methods of farming. We are not looking at what is the problem, and it starts with our soil, just as I believe.
Our problem starts with our soil. Now, let's look at where we are. I want us to talk about urban farming. You spoke about the shortage of land and all of that. And so how sustainable roof farming? Because in Gauteng, as you said, we don't have enough space for the land, and people always complain and say, but now we don't have enough land, and people always have smaller space to do all of that. So in terms of community farming, how sustainable is community farming? And how can people create jobs and create more economy out of a farming sector?
I think community farming is very sustainable. We don't really look into it, but because also the education about it is not there. The agricultural training is not there. You don't know what to do during rainy seasons. You don't know as a community where to farm. I remember there's a community that's close by the Tembisa side where these ladies, they just farm mealies only on the side of the road. I don't think they have a permit. I don't think they have a land, anything. But to be honest, as the township, nobody really checks, But imagine if they were given a space to say, okay, here you guys are, this is your space, farm what you guys need to farm, take what you guys need to take, and if you guys decide to sell amongst each other or sell moving outwards, there are things like cooperatives. You can open a community cooperative, you guys come together and you decide to sell and you decide to share what you want to share. It's something that is open and available, but the information is not there to the people because it is so sustainable. Even in the little space you have in your yard, there's tire farming, there's building these tier farms where you can kind of like use these hanging spaces, these hanging farms. No one is giving people information about that.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Now, you spoke about community cooperates.
Yes.
Now, I want us to look at the challenges that normally they come across. Usually you hear most of people talking about the so-called unnecessary red flag when it comes to competing with their competitors. For example, it's not easy to access the market because the market demands a lot of production. And so can you imagine from the community perspective, in terms of taking their stuff to be sold at retail shops, they often have a problem with that. So what is your experience in that, and what should people do? As you say, these are cooperative, community farming. They want to take and sell to Pick and Pay, whatever. But they'll always say, well, it seems we have been given a cold shoulder or necessary red flag. Are there some red flags from your own experience, Bui?
Definitely. Definitely. Barriers to entry in everything, especially in agriculture. Everyone is constantly, when you go through your social media, guys, take your money, buy some seeds. Seeds are cheap. Start a farm, sell. You're going to see there's no need for you to be sitting around. The game does not work like that. You enter the industry, you are thinking you're going to sell, and there are certain rules in place, like certain shops, they try to make it easier. They say if there's a farm close by to us, like if we are a shop that is selling and there's a farm close by to us, by law, certain laws or certain regulations, we have to supply from them. But when you take your stuff to supply, they say, no, your stuff is not up to standard, we can't take it, and all of that stuff. So I would say familiarize yourself with the standard first. Do you know what I mean? You go and you see what is it that they want. They want to test for pesticides. They want to test for that. You bite the bullet, if I can say that. Before they close you down, you find out, do the research, because that's also something that is so important and that they do not want to give us, is the information as well, because we need it.
Right. Now, we still talk about the information, and another important aspect of that is the education. The information and education and the research, how pivotal, and why do you think it's quite very important that people should get information and also the education?
I feel like it's so important because a lot of people, and if you were to ask me why do people gatekeep the agricultural industry when it's an industry big enough for all of us to farm, all of us to enter and make money from it. There's so much money in this industry. I would not be able to tell you why they close doors for so many of us. But if you have the information, every time a door is closed for you, you'll find that there is a law that counters that door being closed. There is a law where even in some companies, for their tax reductions and stuff, they need to supply from you. And if you can go and sit down, and it's not just learning about the law, learning about in terms of business taxes as an NPO. If you are having an agricultural NPO or something like that, how can you collaborate? Find out, because with NPOs, a lot of stuff and a lot of sponsors you will get is companies who want tax reduction. Find out from people like SARS. Do your research on stuff like that, because you'll find that in that little research, things like your BBE certificate, if you can have that, these big companies get reductions from supplying from you. A lot of people don't know that. Now you take your BBE certificate, you say that we are women owned, we have supplied this, we have done that, we are 50% youth in this company, we have farmed, have a story to tell, but first do your research, see which story sells the best, you go with your story, you go with your books in order, so that every time when they give you a but and they say, we would supply from you, but you take out and you say, no, but we have this and that and that and that, and you bite the bullet.
You bite the bullet.
Yes.
Well said, well put, well placed. Still in conversation with Miss Buyiswa Twala. Now, let's talk about a transformation in the industry. You said this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Now, in terms of a transformation, of course, this is an industry that has always been regarded as more lily white, right? Now, in terms of transformation, Ms. Twala, let's talk about women empowerment. Do you think for the last or so, 30 years or so on, has there been any transformation? Has there been any changes in the agricultural sector in terms of women empowerment? Do you think women so far, they have been indeed empowered? Because some women, as we speak, in the rural areas, they often complain that they are not allowed to own a piece of land because of traditional laws and all of that. And then some, they don't have funding, can't buy tracks and all of this stuff. So from your experience, do you think in terms of transformation and in terms of women empowerment in the agricultural sector, has there been any transformation for the last 30 years? Have women making inroad? Have they made a stride in the industry? Have they been empowered?
I would definitely say it's a 50-50 with that one, because, on paper, it's very... There's the statistics, the statistics. We've empowered this many women. We've done so much. We've done this and that. This is what we have done. They will give you a couple of examples. If you are in something like an incubation program, they usually take the women's stories and they put them first, And I mean, it's a good thing, but also to an extent, let's not do it for the paperwork. Let's not do it to say there's impact. Let's actually make an impact, let's not look for a face, because sometimes that's, even sometimes partly that's how I feel I entered the industry. Being a face, they need a face to say we have impacted, we have changed, and then just from there you maneuver your way and you make something out of it. But not every woman can do that. So if you are genuinely impacting, and the thing of the laws against women owning lands in some areas and so forth, if you look at a lot of situations, women, especially in the rural areas, tend to be the main provider for these families, with men leaving for town and all of that and going to look for work. When you don't empower these women, you don't empower the children. You don't empower the children, you don't empower the nation. You know what I mean? Women, I feel like we are natural multipliers. You touch my life, I will touch someone else's life. We'll touch each other's lives like that. But if we are limiting the empowerment in the industry, because yes, it is nice for you to do the features on us and, have the social media posts. Have you heard of her? She's doing amazing. But where is the financial backing? Where is the funding? Where is the support? That's where we want to see things thriving. Something I learned earlier on in business was from a business mentor of mine. She was like, yes, it's nice to be on the articles. It's nice to shine. It's nice to be on the news and all of that. But are you actually making any revenue? Are you making any profit? Or are you just a face for all of these companies to look like they're making impact? And I had to look at that and be like, wow, yeah.
Great stuff there. Now, you spoke about funding, and then there's still $1 million question. But now, where is funding? I mean, people often say, well, we've been all over the show and we don't get funding. What is the hold up? What is the problem of funding? And then also you spoke about mentorship. I want to know from you, why do you think mentorship is very important, particularly when it comes to business mentorship? Why is it so very important?
All right, I'll start with the funding. In terms of funding, it's not easy. The funding industry is...
But people proclaim with the money is there. People must come and visit their offices and all of that.
The money is there.
The budget is being budgeted, set aside. This is going to help small-scale farmers. I want us to talk about that. Yeah, carry on, yeah.
The budget is there. They even have times where they actually turn it around and they're like, this year a certain amount wasn't spent, so now it's going back. This year a certain amount wasn't spent, it's going back. But really, the thing is, they do collect these papers. They do send out the post to people. Hey, there's funding. Apply for this. Apply for that. Apply for that. But we also forget that in these small businesses, there is a lack of information.
Lack of information. And information,
everything.
Is it for free or is it costly?
The information is costly. I would have to say.
Is it not for free?
It's never for free. it's never for free. You can Google it. There are people who they can even make a business out of giving you information. The way it is so hard to find the information. In the beginning, I attended so many agricultural trainings, and all the trainings are the same. They talk about the farming, they talk about the this, they talk about the that, but we never talk about the business. We don't talk about the money. We don't talk about you make people sign. We attended this training. We impacted 250 women. We impacted 250 young people. You did not talk about the business. You did not talk about the funding. You did not talk about how do we acquire our BBE certificates, because those are very important. You have that in order. You have your tax certificate in order. You have your ID copies. You have your staff ID copies. You have your whole teams, everything done. You've sorted out CIPC. Then you can go. They don't tell you about the budgeting plan, how you're supposed to create a spreadsheet of your budget, the what they want to see, how they want to see it, and then you submit that. Then only can you be considered for funding. But people don't know that, so you just submit your business plan, you submit your registration, you are excited and you have a good business plan, but they don't tell you about the documentation that you're going to need. You're going to need that SARS certificate, you're going to need the tax compliance, you're going to need the financial plans, and the financial plans go down to 5 years. So you need to have a financial planning for 5 years. Yeah.
Wow.
They don't tell you that. And the money gets turned back. People are applying, money is being turned back because no one is giving people the information that the people need to know. Yeah.
Now, talk about the mentorship. Who inspired you, and who were some of your mentors to get to the industry, and why do you believe mentorship is very important, particularly in this agricultural sector?
I would say mentorship is really important because there is nothing better than experience, and I believe there's this thing about leadership, right, where if you're a good leader, not everyone has to bend the same way you bend. Do you know what I mean? So mentorship is important in the sense that, okay, this person was probably starting out their business. They started out this business and then they saw all of the errors, the faults, and then they come in as a mentor and they say to you, before you can go and bend here, don't do this. Do it like that. Try this. Try this method. They have tested and proved and failed whichever methods there are in terms of the business, and then you get an opportunity as their mentee to now come and say, okay, this is how we're going to do it. This is how I'm going to do it. Now I know the way forward. Now I know how to maneuver and stuff. I know there is Bayanda Maseko. He's an agricultural mentor, but in like snail farming. It's amazing. He's a great snail farming. I've worked with him before. Such an amazing mentor. I had a mentor from a program, a Circular Economy Accelerator, and it was for women, and I had a female mentor. Her name was Tracy. She was amazing.
Wow.
But we're not in the agricultural industry. She's just in business. And she's the one who told me about you are good at making moves, and getting spotlight. But how do you turn that spotlight into profit?
Into profit.
Yes.
Yeah. Now tell us more. To many people who are listening, talking good. You know what, Buyiswa, I'm thinking of throwing in the towel because I'm not making any profit. Now, when you get into this business, Buyiswa, are you getting into this business to make profit, or we are getting into business to leave a lasting legacy in business, or it's about just making money and having a lot of a big fat bank check, or is it making a living or an everlasting business legacy? Which is which? Is it making money or making sure with your business you leave a legacy for the business? Because many business die out along the way.
Yes.
So what is the cause?
I would say, and this was something I struggled with, moving from being a person who works in the NPO system with charity and not making profit. I began to have this guilt about making money. I would even turn down deals and be like, no, making money feels wrong. And until I had a conversation with the CEO of Mercedes-Benz South Africa. I had a conversation with him, and he was like, if a company is impacting the world in a good way, then why is it so bad for that company to make a profit? Because with that profit, you are able to increase the impact. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like for a lot of us, yes, in business, it is important to make a profit. That's the whole point of the business. That's why you started the business.
Yeah.
But once you touch into the impact as well, because really, impact, it's what solidifies your business and allows your business to stay for a long time. I think with impact, that's how you become an expert.
Yeah.
Because you are able to arrive in a place that has a system and you change it.
Yeah.
So now we're no longer looking at just profits. We're no longer looking at just, okay, I'm making money. We're making money here. But what we're also doing is now we're looking at how am I changing this system?
Yes.
You arrived in the system. It's like an Albert Einstein thing. There was maths.
Yeah.
You arrive, you create your own formula.
Your own
you
formula.
go down in history.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing we're looking at.
Wow. In conversation with Buyiswa Twala. Now, talking about the, just this question just slipped on my mind. We're in conversation with Buyiswa Twala. She's our guest tonight on the Street Sunday show. And in case you have just joined in, welcome to the show. It's a beautiful Sunday evening, and we are still in conversation with the lady.
Alex FM on 89.1. Hi, this is Saloma Kakangube, and you are listening to the Sweet Sunday show with Muntu Mbanjwa.
Wow, there we go. We are still in conversation with Miss Buyiswa Twala. She's our guest tonight on the Street Sunday experience. And of course, we're still enjoying the cozy conversation. Now, let's talk about the issue Yellow Cruiser, which is quite very important, I must really say. The issue of, what they call it, urban scale farming. What are we talking about?
Urban scale farming.
What are we talking about?
We're looking at farming in urban areas. You know, usually how we look at rural areas in terms of farming, and we farm in these rural areas and stuff. We bring it more back to like the urban side and what, like hydroponics. When we talk about urban scale, first thing I think about is hydroponics, you know.
What is hydroponics anyway?
It is a form of farming which, you know, it's not my expertise, but from the business partners that I have, it's a form of farming where you use water instead of soil. You use fish as well. The fish manure uses as fertilizers for the crop. The crop grow inside the water, and this is for places where you don't have a lot of space, you don't have a lot of soil. You create these kind of pipelines filled with water. There's a certain area for fish, and then there's a certain area for crop, and your crop grow organically, amazingly, because your fish can't live with, you know, the fertilizers and so forth.
Yeah.
So that's basically what we look at when I think about urban farming. You know, I definitely urban scale farming. I think about your hydroponics. It's an innovative way to farm. We're looking at farming in the city, farming in the area, the hanging plants.
The rooftop farming as well.
Yes.
Is it also sustainable in the cities?
I would say so. I would really say so.
Would you advise people to do that? To do this rooftop farming?
I definitely would. I would always advise people to innovate. You know what I mean? If it doesn't work for some people, it doesn't work for some people. But I think for you, and I always say, and this is the thing, even with business, and it's not just for business, it's for life in general.
Yeah.
Try. You lose nothing from trying. There's nothing that you lose.
Yeah.
You know, just give it a try. You see there's some space up there, you speak to, you know, the building manager, you're like, hey, can I have some space? I just want to put my things there. You plant them, you see how it goes, even on your balcony. You never know how far you could take it. Next thing, the people in your block are buying from you, they're supplying from you, and now you're kind of delivering a supply chain. You're understanding how it's working. So that's why I say, in terms of anything, I'd say just try.
Yeah.
You lose nothing.
So you lose nothing. So now, Mr. Twala, just take us through to what were some of your highs and lows in business. Just take us through the highlights. What were some of the highs and the lows? And how did you overcome the lows?
Oh, I would say the highs is definitely the recognition, getting the opportunity to exhibit my findings and my innovation in Germany. Wow. It was very big, it was major, it was my first time on an aeroplane, you know, it was all of that. And then the lows would be, you know, moving from a space where you have a lot of clients, you have orders coming in, to a point where you can't really, you don't have the volume to accept orders anymore. And then eventually the customers disappear. And those orders that were supposed to be coming in also disappear.
Yeah.
It's a stage that happens in every business.
Yeah.
But if you're a sore loser like me, you know, because it's not really a loss, but to me, in that moment for you, it seems like a loss. And how you overcome it is really not beating yourself up and not looking at yourself through the eyes of other people, not comparing yourself, because your journey is different. We're not all walking on the same road. And the most difficult thing I think I've experienced is that life still goes on, hey? Like whether you have a business, life's not going to stop for you. You need to be able to really go into the gym of perseverance and pick up the perseverance weight and build the perseverance muscle.
Wow.
It's perseverance only. The world, your entire world could be falling apart. And you still have this business to run. You still have these orders to make because that's your legacy. You've built it thus far. And if you are unable to meet certain standards, that becomes your name, that you are unreliable, that, you are forgetful, because these people, they need their product. It's not just about you. And, we're all human, but people need their things. You can't now come and say, oh, I'm sorry, but my life is falling apart this side. The game doesn't work like that. You need to build perseverance.
You need to build perseverance. Now, you spoke about the high volume of demand or the high volume of supply. How did you overcome that? Because this is where many people, I think, they are at fault at. In most cases, you find that they cannot cope with the high demand of supply. And then a customer decides to say, well, the deal is off. Yeah, because people cannot supply in demand and all of that. So, the issue of, I wanted you to tell us more about the issue, Yellow Cruiser. You spoke very eloquently about it, the issue of, I can see the listener here, 661025665. Yeah, Sisonke, we can hear you. You said it's an awesome show. Okay, you've got some questions that you'd like to ask. Okay, you can send them through, and then Sizombuza, okay. If you've got some questions. Now, the issue of passion. So when you get into this business, is it about passion or you should have a talent? What makes a successful agricultural? What makes a successful farmer?
I think definitely passion. The passion over the talent. There's people with green thumbs. Naturally, they can, excel. They can plant something now, they can transplant something now, and it will exceed. But it's about you being passionate about wanting to achieve this, even if you can see, because the hardest part of, I think, farming is transplanting, taking seedlings and putting them into their actual beds. Very sensitive. They could die at any time, and your whole crop is finished, But if you see, okay, that was a bad transplant. I did a bad job here. Now what do? You stop, you let go, you just let it drown. You can't. You need to be passionate about it and say, okay, you know what? That was a bit of a flop on my side. Let me learn. Let me try. Let me speak to some people. And also another thing about it is you need to let go of the fear. That was my first 3 years of business. Terrible fear, constant fear of partnership, fear of approaching people, fear of... Even advertising the business was a fear. It was like, people are gonna know. So even if I do fail, they are gonna know.
Yeah.
But if I keep it a secret, even if I fail, no one will know.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And you just need to let go of that fear, have the passion, have the drive, and go for it.
Now, let's talk about community farming. Kasi to kasi, there are small small farming and all of that. So, and in most cases, you find that by the look of things, I sometimes wonder whether maybe people know what is in demand or what should people plow to sell to the market and all of that. Because in most cases, you look around, you see people plowing spinach, cabbage, and all of that. I haven't come across community gardens where you see people plowing, for example, what do you call this, cruiser, but this green vegetation, for example, things like planting cucumbers, planting, you name it. But always people do similar stuff, the same stuff again and again and again.
Yeah.
And then you ask yourself, but now I haven't seen been about they're doing farming and they are producing green pepper, something, green pepper of some sort. Years and years, I haven't seen communities doing that. It's the same stuff again and again and again and again. Cabbage, spinach, and all of that. So this is where I think education is very vital and important to say. But are you supposed to keep on planting or plowing cabbage on that soil? Or that soil is only meant for plowing cabbage and whatever, spinach and you name it. So this community, what I call community farming, do you think many of the people that are doing community farming, do they really understand what is expected, what is in demand in the market? And do they really understand there are some other plants or there are other organic things that they can plant? So this is where now I think there's a problem, lack of information.
Definitely, because something that's important to keep your soil alive is crop rotation. You do not plant the same crop that you planted the previous season. You're killing your soil. Hence, your soil ends up dying. Now you end up over-fertilizing it, over-chemicalizing your soil without even knowing, but because they don't tell people about crop rotation, that you need to, if you planted spinach here this season, next season you need to do beetroot. It needs to be something that's under the ground, you know. And another thing is, I think also, like I said, there's things in the agricultural industry, there's shortages. It just happens, and there are predictions on what's next season's shortage from the farmers. They collect all of this data and stuff. Like, I don't know when was it last year or the year before last, we had a potato shortage at some point. Now imagine if those people in those community farms, they had known about the upcoming potato shortage and they had planted potatoes. In that space of time, you were going to be able to fill that gap in the market. Whether they want to supply from you, whether they don't want to supply, there's no choice. There's no potatoes. Now you're looking for everybody. Now you are scrambling to farm potatoes when everyone is already done. They've noticed the shortage. So those things, they're not accessible to people in the townships, the people in the communities, you know. It's the people who've been in the industry who are subscribed to these mailing addresses and so forth, and you get the information there that, the next season we're looking at a green pepper shortage. Now, and it's for next season. It's June. We're looking at a green pepper shortage. Imagine you take all the green peppers that you are cutting that home, you germinate them, you plant them, you're ready. By June, you are making profit.
Wow.
Out of this world, because they told you about the shortage coming. But that information only reaches certain groups of farmers. It doesn't reach the township is worse. It's reaching the township is far-fetched.
It's far-fetched.
Very far-fetched.
Still a long way to go.
Oh, still a long way to go. They're not telling, even last there was a fertilizer shortage. There was a giant fertilizer shortage in the upper regions of Africa. They were looking to import from everywhere. Imagine people who have manure lying around all of these places.
All over the places,
They could have gotten some money from that. They could have got in business with that. But the information doesn't come here. It doesn't.
The information doesn't come down, doesn't filter down to the community. Even here in Alex, you guys, you don't get the sufficient information that is very vital and important. Now, boy, let's talk about other contributing factors that can affect the farming industry, like the climate change, the weather. We look at things like season, the rain, and all of that. So, how does climate change affect agriculture?
Oh, it affects it greatly. It affects it so greatly, and people want to pretend climate change does not exist, but it's real, and it is affecting the agricultural industry. For example, right now we have seasons where it's supposed to rain and it doesn't rain. That's climate change. There's seasons where it's not supposed to rain and it's over raining to the point where, even in agriculture, too much of a good thing is not good. For some crop. You can't over water a certain crop, because then they begin to rot. The root rot, things like root rot will happen to the crop, and we'll have bugs and we'll have all of that, and we have unnecessary dry seasons. For example, the heat is increasing. Heat is very good for the plant, but as the temperature rises as well, now it begins to affect our crop. Now our seasonal crops are changing because the seasons are not moving according to what they are used to. Do you know what I mean? So climate change is definitely affecting us in so many ways, and it's another thing where the information is not being given. How do you navigate the climate change? Farmers need to be getting nets now. The heat is extremely hot. It's hotter than it's been in the past years. Your spinach is not going to survive without a net. We are in an age of where your greens are not going to survive without a net. But if no one is telling you these things, how will you know?
How will you know? Still in conversation with Buyiswa Twala. Now, let's talk about water shedding. How has water shedding affected the industry? Because really, we have a shortage of water from time to time. Even now, we are still not yet out of the woods, isn't it? Right? So, how has the issue of water shedding affected you guys? I mean, there's no water. So you cannot water the plants and all of that, and then it's a very silly season, and then we've got a problem water shedding. So how has that affected you guys in terms of water shedding? Still not yet out of the woods, and how are you surviving and coping?
You know, with the water issue, it's so hectic because, like I said, I'm between two places. I'm between Kempton Park, I'm between Alexandra. And I love that because that has allowed me to see the difference and the priority. You know, if I can tell you now, Kempton Park doesn't have a water issue.
Doesn't have a water issue?
There's no water issue in Kempton Park.
Fabulous.
Water flowing constantly. Never a message that, the water has been contaminated, nothing. In Alex, constant water shortages. I know there's some times where we try and pull our all-nighter because we have a big order for compost the following day, and you know, compost production in itself also needs a lot of water, and now you're trying to have this done. Now you must go and fetch water at Kempton Park. Here in Alex, there's no water. There is constant water shortages, especially on the weekends, you know, and you begin to realize that, okay, in these certain areas there's no water shortages. Here in the townships, there's water shortages. And this is the area that needs the most water. It needs the most water. It is overpopulated. We need to have a constant supply of water. There is a water shortage. Now, for someone, you tell me there's a community farm, they have this industry. And another thing about being in the township as well, we don't have that many trees. Trees create heat regulation. So now the heat here is more intense than the heat in any other suburb.
So do you mean that we need more trees in Alex?
Definitely.
But we've had trees, the issue here, it was the issue of watering them. So many of those trees, they ended up dry and they're not being well looked after. There's another issue. So tell us more, why is important with CBN?
No, you guys, we need trees because the heat regulation. Trees regulate the temperature of an area. That's why every time when we enter, you know, we enter with our overalls, coming from wherever we come from, coming from delivering. When we arrive, we need to, you know, kind of release and all of that and take off jackets. It's so wild. It's so intense. So we come to realize that no, it is a problem that you guys actually in the township, we need so many trees constantly. So yeah, we have that problem, and if there's a shortage of trees, there's no heat regulation. Now imagine the farmers this side. Your plants are burning at a higher rate than the farmers who are in the better areas, the people who've been in the industry for a long time. You're a startup farmer, you're coming from the township, you guys have created this community farm, you're doing a great job, you're doing something so beautiful, but now it's extra hot. It's in the township, it's extra hot, there's no trees, no regulation, and then boom, there's no water. Your plants are burning at a higher rate and there is no water. It's almost like a setup to fail. There's no way to succeed.
And then how did you manage to survive and succeed during the COVID-19 pandemic?
It's so strange because the business actually started during the pandemic.
Is it?
Yeah.
Really?
It's kind of started during the pandemic because there's people were more, you know, more food needed to be supplied. People were more looking into their own foods and stuff. And it went from like selling to farmers and, you know, startup farmers. And also people were looking to start businesses. In COVID times, that's when people were like, okay, you know, now we need to get into the industry. We need to get into the agricultural industry. And There's fertilizer shortages, there's compost shortages, there's all of that. And people find people like me who are just there constantly working through it. Because that's why I say you need to get in the, what I like to call the perseverance gym, and build your perseverance muscle. COVID can be happening. You get in the garage, you still work.
Yeah.
You get in there, you work. It's a tough time. You get in there, you still work. You persevere, because then a fertilizer shortage happened immediately after, and then I was able to make profit through that time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, great stuff. Buyiswa Twala, she's still in conversation with us on 89.1 FM. It is a sweet Sunday, and of course I'm Muntu, Mbanjwa, and my guest is Miss Buyiswa Twala, and she's talking to us. Now, the issue, another important issue here, the issue of how safe is our food that we are farming in South Africa. So food security. I mean, we've had many incidents, of course. So, how safe is our food, Buyiswa? And how safe and sound, anyway, are we from bacteria and poisonous food as well? Yeah. How safe and sound is the food that we produce?
I think a lot of people in my industry would be like so mad at me, but one thing about me, I always believe in telling the truth, because if you were doing the right thing, we wouldn't have to sugarcoat it if you were doing the right thing, you know?
Right.
So in my time in Germany, and I saw this practically, I was there for a week, you know, so in Germany, it was a funded trip. It was funded by Mercedes-Benz. Everything was funded. Research was funded, everything. So we had open bar food constantly. It was constant eating, constant food. You know, Europe has this culture of you must eat all the time, constantly. You're just eating, you know. And I think in that week I ate more than I'd eat in a week here. I think we're eating like 6 times a day, constantly being fed. And it was so weird. I came back.
I'm sure you gained extra kilos.
I lost weight.
You lost weight when you came back?
I lost weight in that week of eating like that. I lost weight. And
So
I
what
asked,
kind of food was that?
you won't believe, that side, Germany, where we were, GMOs are banned. No hormones in the food.
Wow.
It's banned.
Really?
You're not allowed to plant with hormones. The chicken, the meat,
Wow.
everything hormone free.
My sweet Jesus.
Everything is organic.
Everything
Hence,
is
we
organic.
were able to eat like mad. You know, when they tell you you have no budget, just eat.
Yeah,
You're going
yeah.
to eat.
You're going to
and
eat,
you want to try these foods from these different countries.
Anything goes, yeah.
And we ate and we lost weight. We ate more than we eat
So
at home.
was
and
it
we
because
lost
of the
weight.
food?
Yeah.
It's organic.
Organic. No hormones. Nothing. There's no hormones in the food. Pella, you must understand, I'm not really sure because I'm not a chicken farmer. I'm not really in the chicken industry. But a lot of these animals, they get a lot of shots.
Yeah.
They get a lot of hormone shots. There's a lot of hormonal practices to speed up the growing process.
Yeah.
Now, if you can see, we're speeding up the growing process in these animals. You eat the animal.
Yeah.
Speeding up the growing process in you.
Yeah.
Now, your cells are multiplying at a crazy rate. All of the effects of this food are coming onto you. And you're asking yourself, you know, you're running, you're dieting, all of this is happening, but you're not really seeing a progress. And not just only in weight, because weight doesn't equate to health.
Yeah.
But your health in general is depleting. You're having unnecessary skin problems because you are combating your body with these hormones that are being put in our food. So when it comes to saying, is our food safe? I don't know. I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so at all.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
So now tell us more. What sort of experience can we draw from the Germans? I mean, in terms of their organic food and stuff like that. What lessons to be drawn from the German experience? Do you think it's also very vital or very pivotal for South Africa? What they can learn from there?
Definitely.
And they can, Is it a great and a good way to go?
It is the best way to go because, you know, we're talking about it actually with my parents at the time, and my mom was saying, you know, back in the day, abokoko, they would just eat muroho and all of these vegetables
spinach,
and all of and they live until their 90s.
Yes.
And they still in their 90s. They are working in the farms. They're doing all of that. What's the change? Everyone keeps asking, you know.
What has changed?
What has changed? What's the difference?
Is it the menu?
It's the menu. Yeah, the way things are being planted now, it's very abnormal. And another thing, even if you can notice, if you eat you buy something in the shop now, it's fresh in the shop. The minute you take it home, spoils.
Yeah.
I don't think that's normal.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about the long-term effects or the after effects of the so-called artificial, you said the word?
Hormones.
Yeah, artificial hormones. And then let's look at the so-called artificial fertilizers. What impact can they
Definitely.
Yeah.
You know, when we talk about, because everyone loves throwing around the word GMOs, which is genetically modified, you know. Yeah, GMFs, genetically modified foods. So you use the genetics, you have your seedless grapes, you have your, you know, what kind of fruit doesn't have a seed? You've never seen something like that before. But now we have it, you know, to cater to the taste of certain people. But like I said, you'll begin to notice a difference, even in the youth, in children, in the way that they are growing. They're not growing the way that we were growing, you know, even in terms of the mindsets. Yeah, at the normal rate, everything, people are aging extremely fast, beyond their age.
Yeah, and also the issue of obesity.
Yes, yes. I think that one, it's a major contributor because, you know, I think as South Africans, we are not known for obesity. We're not known as an obese nation, you know, as much as the US or whatever. But all of the sudden, with the high production of these genetically modified foods, you know, and all of these interests, and also organic foods are more expensive than the GMF foods, which we are all asking ourselves, why is the organic food more expensive?
Why the organic is it more expensive?
Because it's better.
It's better.
And it's better for your health. If you love yourself.
So it's quality stuff.
It's quality stuff.
Okay.
It's quality stuff. It's no injections, no superficial growth, no. Because if you're eating a chicken that was supposed to grow in a month, it grew in a week, what's going to happen when the chicken touches your body?
So now, to someone who's listening to us right now, saying with organic food is the way to go, but it's expensive. So for ordinary people, in simple layman terms, how can they afford organic food?
You have to plant it yourself.
Oh, okay.
There's no other way.
If you can't afford to buy?
You need to plant it yourself because they charge extremely high for organic food. Extremely. You know, it's wild. The price for organic foods, and it's so wild because if you think about organic food, is the food that we plant. It's what our grandparents used to plant back in the day. Just food. Nothing complicated, no wild fertilizer usage, no, you know, several chemicals in it. It's just food. And now we have moved to a space where we are charging higher for organic food. Yeah. So if you're interested in you need to grow your own organic food. Yeah. And you will see a difference.
What would you say to people who have their own little smaller space? How can they utilize the space in terms of planting their own organic food? I can imagine there are quite a lot of people in their houses, you know, they have enough little spaces which they can use to plant organic food. Yeah.
I would say do your research. Do your research, find out what's the best way for you to go forward in terms of planting, and look at also regenerative planting. Like there's things like spinach which come back, you know, they come back. Cabbage also has comeback potential. It also can come back. Once you cut off the head, it will pop up another one if you do it right. Yeah. But now it's all about doing the research and looking more into your organic home composting. It's also a great way of recycling, making your own compost at home. Yeah.
So the very same organic food that we are talking about, it's in a very stiffer competition with what many people in the communities eat from time to time. I can imagine, you know, you know, it's not organic. You know, some people, no. This is not the so-called hungry stuff. I need this stuff, because this is who we are.
Yes.
Right? So this organic stuff. Now, for people who are listening out there, who kuluma this thing longevity. Yeah, to prolong good lifestyle, healthy. Doesn't mean what you as you said, it is expensive, but people can afford. There are some of the things, food that people can afford. So when it comes to vegetables and all of that, which are some of the best vegetables or fruits, whatever, that you would recommend for people? Would you see if you, from time to time, you live, you eat, you do this and this? I think in life, we are not going to be part of the statistics.
Yeah.
You know, because you know what to eat.
Yes.
So this information is very important. People buzz with what is good and what is not good. Yeah. So what would you say?
You know, I don't want to be basic and, you know, do the everyone thing, but it really is a super power food, like spinach. Try incorporate as much spinach as you can. And I know we love the potatoes. We love the potatoes.
How much chips?
You need to cut the starch. Just a little bit. Yes, you need to cut the starch just a little bit.
Yeah.
If you're looking at your potatoes, a superpower vegetable is a sweet potato.
Sweet potato.
Sweet potato, sweet corn. Yeah, those are like big superpowers. Sweet corn is way healthier than even the corn itself.
Yeah.
It aids your digestion and so forth. And cauliflower as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's surprising, but those, your kale, your spinach, your cauliflower, your sweet potato, your sweet corn, I would say try and use that as staples as much as possible. Include that in your meals as much as you can. Include that in your gardens and see the change that it does for you.
Yeah.
You know.
Now, before we wrap up, tell us more about some of your upcoming exciting projects that you are busy with. Are there any exciting farming projects that are coming up?
Definitely. So basically what we have done now is we opened a mini waste conversion site there at 15 in Alexandra, where we collect the waste from around Alex, you know.
What kind of waste?
Food waste.
Oh, food waste.
Yeah, all kinds of food waste. I remember in the beginning when we're still doing research on it, we'd come here at Penn and we would look through there's a part in the road where they throw all the food waste there, and we're kind of doing a research on that, and we're collecting that and seeing how we can kind of incorporate that into our compost, into our fertilizers and stuff. So now what we're looking at is we want to do a clean up Alex kind of project. So all of these areas, you know, we have these things called the agri bin. So it's a bin where these food people who are selling the food and stuff, they get to pour their waste, the food waste, into these bins, and then we come and collect.
Okay, for example, let's talk about here, Pan Africa.
Pen.
Maybe later in the day when they're done selling, and then they can take what is left and then throw in the bin. So have you started the project already? Are the bins already there?
The bins are there. We have a bin at a butchery. It's not really a butchery, like it's a place, like we have a bit of a collaboration with a place called Joe's Butchery here in Alex, where we, you know, they take all of the things that they peel and all of their peels and all of that, and try speak to the owner, try to speak to also some of the people who are selling on the side to put their things in the bin, and we collect once a week and we continue to make our compost like that. But now we're looking into just, you know, trying to meet with the bigger powers, you know, the environmental affairs people, see how we can get the agri bins in every township and have that operating, because it affects the community. The waste affects the community. So far
this agri bin project in Alex, how many bins roughly are we talking about?
So far, we have one here in Alex, and then we have one in Tembisa as well. So we collect from that side. And we just, because also sometimes it's a bit hard to convince people about the recycling thing, because it's a chat of, why do you want our peels? What are you doing with our peels? And even after you explain,
when you take people to recycle all of that. Okay, I get a point.
So they're very creeped out sometimes as to why are you collecting our peels? What's happening with our peels? So
Okay. Now, to someone who's listening to you right now and who would like to get into the farming profession, what would be your advice? Where to start the journey? Yeah, because many people, as you said, information is not there. and research and all of that to someone who's really interested and someone who's got the passion for farming, would like to get into the industry, what would you say to young women?
I would say invest in getting a mentor. Definitely. And prioritize your research. Prioritize your research, and don't I would say don't depend on someone else to do the research for you. Go forth, do your own research, find out the best ways for you to go about it. You know what I mean? And it means going to the library, checking the departments, checking this and that, checking where you can check to get this information by yourself. It's very important to be independent, I think, as a woman in this business. Okay,
last but finally, what are your future plans?
My future plans are to open a waste conversion site in Groblersdal, Limpopo. So we have 10 acres of land there. And we want to make a site which collects waste from all 500 plus townships in South Africa. Meaning that our townships will not have any, we call, bio-waste, food waste and all of that, crop waste lying around anywhere in the township. It's a big part of cleaning up our townships. That's our biggest goal for this year, to open, it's our Vision 2025, opening Waste Conversion Center, Groblersdal.
Okay. So what's your message to many community farmers, even those in Alex and Tembisa there, who are struggling to make it? What would be your message?
Collaborate with each other. Don't work alone. Try and collaborate with one another, because you'll find that a problem that you are facing, someone else has already encountered and they found a solution to it. It's not a competition. It's not a race. This industry is big enough for all of us. There's enough money for all of us. Trust me, I did the research.
You did the research.
All of us. We can all come in.
So the cake is too big.
The cake is too big. For 1 or 3 people to eat it. They won't manage. They won't manage. It's just greed. We can fit all of us.
I love that.
And take 2 slices each.
Okay. Finally, as we are wrapping up, what's your message to our listeners out there, and to the community of Alex and other communities who are making a living out of community farming? Stick together,
persevere. Stick together, and personally for yourself, be prepared to persevere. Any journey worth walking is not gonna be easy. If you want it to be easy, the rewards are not good enough for you. You need to persevere. Get in the perseverance gym and build the perseverance muscles.
Wow. Well put, well placed, Miss Buyiswa Twala. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you so much.
Great pleasure. Awesome conversation, cozy conversation. Thank you so much, and I'm hoping to talk to you again.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been a great pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, there you are. Very dynamic and very phenomenal young woman, telling it the way it is, like the way it is. Well, to all the community farmers, perseverance. Keep on, keeping on, keep on walking, like Johnny Walker. Keep walking the talk. It is what it is with the Buyiswa Twala. All right, Mamiro, that's how we come to the end of our conversation with the lady herself. Until next time. Well, up next, talking to the Deputy President of the All Citizens Party. You remember what happened at RTP's board? They're going to tell us more. Boy, thank you so much, my dear. We sincerely wish you all the best of the best.
Thank you.
Good luck. Stay blessed.